It's a quote which is personal is political, but I think we
Yeah.
practice a lot in our work which we do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our initiatives and the work we do are defined by like this particular personal is political. I personally feel we have already given enough time and space to older people, and they haven't not done enough which was needed.
That's true.
I acknowledge they have done, but they haven't done enough. So it's Asia's first library on climate. We have 2000 books on different intersections of climate. What they are facing is climate anxiety.
That's true.
So we should also look, it's about mental health, it's about physical health, it's about education, livelihood.
I think that the way you're putting it, I think it's more like shared meaning making. I think you're solving a bigger problem that you can assess as of now. When we think about climate change, the first emotions that cloud our head are about helplessness, hopelessness, and what can we actually do about it. But there are a few visionaries, like our guest today, who are the core team members from Youth for Climate India, who are going to walk us through the journey of how they have translated this hopelessness into youth-led action towards climate change. So warm welcome to you both, and warm welcome to the audience. And I'm Manya Jaisinghani from Swechha, who is going to trace the journey in this conversation. So Vijay and Shreya, before we go into the work that you've been doing, I would like to understand you both, because it's the leader who then defines the movement, and every movement has been defined by leader. So how did you both land into this very organization, your journey, and how did it actually come into existence? Maybe you both can share a bit about you.
Hey everyone, my name is Vijay. I'm co-founder of and a core team member. I think for me, there has been three specific points. In my school time, I was a runner. I used to run a lot. And around 2015, 2016, there was a time when I was not able to run, and doctor have asked me not to run in Delhi's polluted air. So I think that was a point for me, as you mentioned in the beginning about hopelessness. I felt hopeless, I felt helpless. So I think that was emotions within me, and I don't know what to do about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think going forward, I think that becomes affair for me where I stopped running because I felt like, what is the point of running in a air which is highly polluted, right?
Correct.
So for 2-3 years, I think in 2018, I was sitting around like 7 p.m. I was reading a news, and the news article says Delhi's most polluted city and government is cutting down 16,000 trees. So that particular article, I felt, okay, 16,000 trees is almost like a forest.
Exactly.
And if we lose it, something bad will happen. So I tried to figure out more information about it, and then I got to know about a demonstration that was happening, and then I attended that. Then I start meeting other people, and then I start realizing the power of civic action, I think. And the third point for me in my journey has been, I think when I was growing up, when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15, when I was growing up. So I've seen my mother. My mother was a housewife. I'm a single parent child. So I've seen her doing the household work, earn livelihood. At the same time, she also cared for what's happening outside in the society, not just in household. And I've seen her standing up for gender issues around Nirbhaya movement, around India against corruption.
That's fascinating.
And initial days of Aam Aadmi Party. So I think when I was finding ways of channelizing my helplessness and powerlessness into action, I think for me that was a source of inspiration. So I thought, okay, maybe we need more collective action and collectivization and collective action, and that's where the journey of the idea of Youth for Climate India started. Yeah, for me.
Wow, I mean, that's pretty much like a personal story, a personal experience, and a felt experience, and also some kind of familial push in a way, if I could put it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe the culture and the personal action, and then you channelized it towards the climate change, which was your personal struggle against with.
Yeah. At Youth for Climate India, we keep on discussing one thing, which is like, it's a quote which is personal is political, but I think we practice a lot in our work which we do. I think a lot of our initiatives and the work we do are defined by like this particular personal is political, which we'll talk about more later on in the podcast. But yeah.
Definitely, I would love to touch upon that, what personal is political, because when I was doing a research about the organization, I was seeing that certain social media posts have also spotlighted upon personal experiences being shared by the youth. But yeah, we'll definitely touch upon that. For now, I'll come to Shreya, if you can also trace your journey, perhaps till here.
Yes. So, hi everyone. My name is Shreya, and I have been born and brought up in Delhi. And when it comes to caring about people around me, or plan the planet, so I think that was something like that care actually deepened when you face injustices in your everyday life, whether you are a woman or a person from a marginalized gender, or other social identities which are marginalized. When you belong to such groups, so you face those injustices.
True.
And I think these very incidents motivated me to work towards social justice, towards climate justice. And yeah, I mean, I have, and as a kid, I have always loved natural surroundings. But like navigating public spaces becomes a challenge because of these identities.
Correct.
And so, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of emotions within me, frustration, anger, hopelessness. And it was during college time, I would say, that actually I was able to, transform these emotions into some sort of action. I did theater, and we were making plays about climate change, women's safety, road safety. So art helped me in this way a lot.
Oh, all right. Yeah. It's the most expressive way. Yeah.
Yeah, very. Like, I cannot
Yeah.
survive without art. I practice it daily in some or the other way. And then I got introduced to climate spaces when the whole youth-led movement was starting back in 2019, 2020 around the world. Also, there was Greta Thunberg. There were people protesting, especially young people
That
coming
time,
out.
yes, yeah.
Yes, students. And that is where, like, in 2020, I remember I met Vijay at a protest. And
Oh my God, that's
yes.
quite a place to meet. The right place, rather.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a story about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that day I still remember, and just seeing so many young people together, that was really, hope. Like, that gave me a lot of hope. So I started volunteering with climate groups. I joined Youth for Climate India, and yeah, the journey has been continuing.
That's splendid. I mean, meeting at a protest and then continuing to in the movement way, rather. I mean, you guys had initial right way of coming up and then went ahead. Something I want to touch upon is that I think that you both, from what I could gather, started out into climate action when you were both in your youth stage, or maybe the age bracket, or maybe the stage of life where we are brimming with very much enthusiasm and energy. So, did the very idea and the conceptualization of youth for climate change, emphasis on the word youth, come from a choice that you wanted to work with the people your age bracket? Or was it a judicious choice to have the word youth? Or how does it play out in the larger scheme of things in maybe the organization? I just wanted to touch upon that.
I think one thing I particularly feel, the people, when we talk about collective action, it's very important the people we are trying to bring together, there should be some sort of a similarity between people. So I feel that youth factor works there. I think young people are able to understand each other. They are able to form that relationships which are required for the collective action. So I think that was one factor. The another factor, I think young people have some shared experiences. So identity play out a role in a way where when like Shreya talked about a woman, so maybe I might not be able to relate to that, but a woman might be able to relate to that, right? So in the same way, young people have some similar experiences. Young people have experiences of like not being able to decide what they want to do. Someone else is deciding for them. So it could be a shared experiences within young people, right? I think the collective should be formed on the basis of like some sort of a shared affinity. So I think for us that affinity was young people, because we have some sort of a shared experience, and that could create a ground where we can do the work which we intend to do. Because again, and we when I started I was 23, now I am 30, so definitely yes. and still youth, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to ask. Like, how do you actually define this youth for climate change? Because I see that people who are like of all age brackets suffering equally. Like, who is an old age person also coughing and sneezing, and they cannot really step out for the morning walk or even carry out the routine because of the severing air pollution that is around. So, does that mean that when you go out and organize your movements or activities, you actually entitle it for somewhere between 20s and 30s? Or is the movement also encapsulating in its expanse that it's inviting also? How do you bridge around these activities beyond, like, they say, youth bracket or in a way?
Um, matlab, definitely there is an emotional choice which we have, like
Mhm.
of shared affinity, but I think there is also strategic choice too. Like when we say young people, I think young people are something, the kind of value system they
Mhm.
grow up with, and I think they are the one like who want to change things, and they have
Mhm.
most at the stake.
Mhm.
When we talk about climate change, someone who's
Mhm.
like 60 right now, who's like, if we take a age bracket of, let's say someone is life expectancy is 80, so
Mhm.
someone who is 60 will be living for 20 years, and
Yeah,
someone who is 20 will be living for 60 years. So
fair
climate
enough.
change will be impacting more to the people who is 20 right
Mhm.
now. So I think there are more stakes for the young people,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of also energy that is needed to
Mhm.
solve the climate change,
Yeah.
we feel will also come from young people,
Mhm.
because I personally feel we have already given enough time and space to older people,
My
and
God,
they haven't
yes.
not done enough which was
That's
needed.
true. Yeah.
I acknowledge they have done, but they haven't done enough, I
Hmm.
feel. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, that's a needed assault. I would term it that way.
Yeah.
Because we have been growing up reading the very quote that Earth is not given to us as a gift, but inherited from our future generation. And perhaps somewhere there might be a fault in the very way
Yeah.
the prior generations have come up. So, when we talk about youth, it's very generic and it's very strategic of you that youth can create the very clamor, the very angst, and channelize the emotion in the movement way that we wanted to create the urgency for. However, we feel that somewhere when we are creating the clamor, social media is the best, movement is the best. However, the real action and the real power ball lies in the hand of the government and the people who are in the power and authority. So, how do you play this exchange of dynamism between channelizing your clamor maybe into something concrete that has maybe in your journey, if you want to cite some examples, impacted government action or anything palpable that you have come up with in this expanse of, say, 5 years of this organization?
Yeah. I think Shreya have a best
Um,
example for that.
yes,
Please.
so I will start with like sharing about our campaign, which is called
Mm-hmm.
Youth for Better Buses.
Okay.
And it's a youth-led campaign, and it tries to understand the experiences, the challenges that students and young people who use public buses in Delhi
Mm-hmm.
face in their
Completely
everyday
true.
commute. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with this campaign, like we are able to translate that youth power, that collective efforts of the young people into action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like within as a part of this campaign, we did a bus survey to understand the challenges, aspirations of the young people, students who use public buses, and through that survey, we actually created a demand charter, which is the U charter for better buses,
Okay.
and that lists 3 demands particularly of the student community in Delhi. The first being making the buses more reliable. Second, increasing the frequency of the buses. There are like at least 7,500 buses, but we require 15,000 buses as per the government's own data. And third demand, which is quite personal and like personal to me, which is safety for everyone, not just women, but gender minorities as well. And when we talk about safety, it's not just about within the buses, but also the bus stops. Like if you look at Delhi, the public spaces are largely inaccessible for many
Completely.
people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we took these demands to the political candidates during the 2025 elections, and then like we presented them the youth charter, and we asked them to commit to better public transport reforms and make the buses in Delhi better. And the result, finally coming to the point, is like introduction of 25 new buses in Delhi recently in August 2025
Oh, wow.
for Delhi students in the north and south campus areas. Yeah.
I think I read about You Special coming up, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
you
the same
special.
buses.
Yeah,
You
That has
Special.
come
Yeah.
after like
Oh, wow.
students demanded it.
Right.
Yeah.
Lovely. I mean, many congratulations to you both for catalyzing this.
Thank you.
And I think that's very needed because when we look at the public transportation, I mean,
Right.
that's way fully like not adequate to our needs. I'm standing on the bus stop, but yet no clue about when the next bus is gonna come. So maybe just pitch in my personal request that if you can trace what's the bus route and when
Right.
it's gonna come, and maybe some digitized system.
Yeah,
Yes.
We can
so
have.
so the first point we have in the youth charter is reliability, and
Yeah.
one specific demand we have that is we should have public information system
Yeah.
the way we have in metro.
Please do.
In the
Yes.
metro, we
Yeah.
get to know the next metro will be coming in 6 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Can we have the same system for the buses?
Completely.
I was in Amsterdam like some time back,
Hmm.
and there is a system of public information system,
Hmm,
and you get to
hmm.
know, okay, next bus will be coming in 4 minutes,
Yeah.
और वो 4 मिनट में आती है, and I was like, wow, this
Yeah.
is great. I think because, and especially when we say young people, I think we don't, मतलब buses getting late, not being reliable, a tip of iceberg, but how it is impacting young people life, I think are questions that need to be answered.
Right.
And
Completely.
it also connect to what we initially talked about personal is political. So I think
Hmm.
that was at the core of this campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely.
So, like, just adding on to that, person is
Mhm.
political. I mean, what brought us together in the first place were our shared experiences. Yeah, I mean, just like we started, like I and my friends and other people from the community, we had those conversations where we were just randomly ranting about, public buses. And
Yeah.
and this is where we felt motivated. Okay, I'm not the only one facing it. Everybody
Yeah.
around me is facing this. So there must be
Yeah.
something larger going on around it. And yeah, from there on, we started. We did some initial research. We brought more people like us, students, young people, to join in the movement, and that's how we built it up. Yeah.
And now the first phase of the campaign is done with the introduction of like some new buses. Now
Yeah.
we are in the second phase of the campaign. So we would like to keep campaigning on the demands that are still there, because we feel the pressure is sustained. So how do we do that? And one of the way, like on coming February 21st, the government will be completing a year.
Okay.
And on the same day, we are having a youth assembly on better buses. So again, it's a
Oh,
way
lovely.
of like, it's not just about like communicating, it's also about like keeping accountability. And I think that's our constitutional duty and also right. I think we
Yes.
should exercise. We all should.
Yeah, right to mobility that is
Correct.
reliable, that
Mobility,
is
yeah.
safe, accessible, affordable, and inclusive for everybody.
Yeah.
And also the right to clean air, given like 40 to 50% of the pollution in Delhi is caused by the private
By the
vehicle
vehicular
emissions.
traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when
Lovely.
we talk about the air pollution in Delhi, I think there is a narrative which is seasonal narrative,
Yeah.
where we
Definitely.
like particularly during winter times when the
that when it spikes.
meteorological conditions are not okay, and then we just talk about that. But the pollution again come from some sectors, and one of the major sector that contribute to the air pollution is transport sector.
Correct.
So buses are not just about social justice,
Right.
it's also about climate justice. Yeah.
Completely. And I think that you're actually sensing the vein of the public really well. And I see you as the doctors of movement sensing and just anticipating and picking at the right when the iron is hot, you hit the right way. And
I think definitely matlab, I see in patterns, things in pattern. One thing I see, I think one thing which we don't do at YFCI, which is people come to us, okay, what are your thematic areas? Because these are
Yeah.
technical terms in development sector. And we say we don't have any thematic areas. We work on the issues that are defined by community itself, right?
That's true.
So this particular campaign has is a result of our discussions that has happened between the community member.
That's
And
true.
these were like sometimes the discussion doesn't happen very in a formal spaces, but also in informal spaces, right?
Correct.
So how those experiences shape the priorities of the organization. So adding to
Completely.
that, another example would be of Climate Justice Library. And
I
again,
was to come to that. Yeah.
I told my story, I shared my story. I was very interested to learn more about climate. Media, I think there is a limitation to consume media. So books
Completely.
are one of the way to learn more about climate.
Completely. Media
So-
is biased, but books, of course.
Yeah,
and-
definitely books are one of the way. There are
Hmm.
other ways, but books are
Hmm.
one of the way to learn more about climate, right?
Correct.
So I wanted to, and then you also can't buy too many books, right?
Completely.
There's a limitation. I come from a single parent child family. I come from a middle class family, right? Yeah. So it's very hard to buy a lot of books. So I start, going to public libraries. So I went to the biggest public library of Delhi. And
Okay.
I've read all the books they had on the environment, which were like they
Amazing.
had just 68 books. So I felt there are two problems in that system. One, they don't have enough books on climate. Second, whatever books
Correct.
they have are very old.
Yeah.
Climate is rapidly changing and they don't have like new
Exactly.
books.
They don't have the updated statistics, maybe the issues that are upcoming in the latest
So
times.
again, the kind of experiences which also Shreya talked about in public buses, the same way for the Climate Justice Library, I have my personal experiences. So the same way, we used to meet in public parks where we used to bring a text and we used to discuss that, like 5, 15, 10 of us. So we start sharing our experience around accessing climate literature.
All right.
That was the starting point and coming, okay, मुझे ये problem आती है, मुझे ये problem आती है, वो महंगी है book. I want to read that particular book, but that's very expensive. So I'm able to just buy 2 books. Maybe I would like to read more. So then we start conceptualizing, okay, what shall we do about it? And then we start finding ways which could be more collective. So can we create a library? So that was the starting point for the library,
Wow.
I would say. And all of the books we currently, so it's Asia's first library on climate.
Amazing.
We have 2000 books on different intersections of climate.
Okay.
Someone wants to read on, let's say, on air pollution. So within the air pollution, they want to read, let's say, on waste. So we,
Yeah.
I think, have roughly around 20 books on just on waste, right? And
My
different
God.
kinds of waste.
Yeah.
Again, within that. So I think it's a themes within a theme, I would say. And all of the books are crowdsourced. हमने कोई किताब नहीं खरीदी है, सब लोगों ने कंट्रीब्यूट किया है. So sometime you just need to make personal to political, bridge that gap and also collectivize and mobilize resources. And that's what we have done. Yeah.
Right. We need spaces like this because, like, first, if we talk about a public library itself, the culture is not there. Like,
Yeah.
there are very few public libraries which have good literature. And when I, the first time I went to the Climate Justice Library, I loved that space. I found it very revolutionary. Like, wow, okay, it's so good, packed with books, conversations, young people, and we are chilling. We are, just like, building things through our conversations and connections. And I still remember the documentary screenings. They are so fun. Like that. Like for me personally, like I felt it's a good way to learn. And post the documentary screenings, we also used to discuss with each other. So yeah, great space. I love it.
I just have like, wow. Because I think that you are actually providing a safe space rather. I don't no longer actually do I see that it's youth for climate change, but it's like youth for climate change, which is impacted by so many sister concerns that you are addressing under the umbrella of the organization.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and that's also one of the way we should start looking at the climate.
Yeah.
Because, like for an example, there is a lot of discussion and discourse these days around mental health.
Yeah,
but I
was to
think when we
touch
talk
on
about
that.
mental health, there is also mental health and climate change connected.
Definitely.
So a lot of
yes.
time we host these spaces within library, in other spaces where people come and share their experiences and concerns around mental health and climate, and they don't have term to define it.
Exactly.
So a lot of
Yeah.
time people through the session which we had at the library have come to know what they are facing is climate anxiety.
That's true.
Yeah. So we should also look. It's about mental health. It's about physical health. It's about
Right.
education, livelihood. It's about a lot of things we are experiencing.
Completely.
It's just the tip of iceberg. We don't just see environmental issues from the point of view of just environmental issues, but I think how that intersect with other
Definitely.
Social justice issues.
And I think that's also a way that has helped us to, I think, bring more young people because we talk about their everyday experiences first.
Yes.
We don't talk about systemic issues. We talk about everyday experiences, and then on top of that, people themselves starts connecting dots. I would say.
Completely.
I know there is a campaign that has been happening in Delhi on the public buses for the past, I think, 4 or 5 years, but they don't have youth participation as much we have in some time, and we were also able to win because yeah, again, what kind of space do you create?
Hmm.
It's very much important you create spaces for young people where they can form relationships, where they can find sense of belongingness, friendships.
Right.
Yeah, it should not be outcome based. Okay, come,
Outcome
we'll
based,
discuss
yeah.
and then we'll do something. There should
Yeah.
be like spaces to build trust, relationships. Yeah, that's very
Right.
essential to young people, I would say.
True.
Just adding on to that,
Mhm.
like at times young people feel like, okay, oh, I don't know about this much. Like I am not an expert. Like I used to feel that, but like being part of such a space, where like which is democratic and which builds on the strengths, the skills everyone has. So I think it's very important, like to have such a space which invites everybody, and there are no barriers to any such a space like this. So that has been really helpful. Yeah, and because like my voices, my experiences as young people, as students, like matter. And when we don't bring these experiences into the policy making, I think we are doing nothing then. Like we are not catering to the actual demands of the public, but we just care about the numbers
Correct,
or
yeah.
anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the way you're putting it, I think it's more like shared meaning making.
Yes.
And I think you're solving a bigger problem that you can assess as of now. Like, I remember when we used to study our books in science and social science, then there used to be separate chapters. Like, now we are going to study environmental crisis. And what we need to do is maybe not throw plastic into the bins, reduce, recycle, and the jingles used to be there, and so much more. It was a detached issue. But what
Right.
you're doing now is maybe contextualizing it and making it more personal, more felt, and a shared experience that's helping in maybe catalyzing the voice to even higher base, I think. And commendable work on that bit if you can target the intersectionality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can't see issues in silos. I think
That's
we don't
true.
have that much time. First, we will solve the climate action, and then
Yeah.
gender equality, and then also housing crisis, and then mental health. We need to
Completely.
see all of these issues combined, intertwined, because it is intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are
And
no silos.
You know,
right.
silos, true.
We create silos. I think we should like see them, the connections
Hmm.
between them, and make sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
that way only. Yeah.
So when we have to talk about justice, it's about everyone. We cannot exclude someone.
Completely. And now that I've had the better understanding of what the organization stands for, we say that there is a kernel of insight that I want to gain from you. Like, if I am an outsider, I'm a person who wants to donate maybe in a CSR way for the organization, I want to define you in a single bracket and to assess what are the metrics that you're producing. So now that you're like having your impact areas spread over such a wide horizon, then how do you assess what you've been able to gather over the time? Do you face any challenges in that? And maybe you can talk about the larger challenges that you as an organization are maybe currently facing in a larger scheme of things.
So because I come from social movement background, I see things in that way. So there is a theory in social movements which is resource mobilization theory,
Yeah.
which says like, okay, there is a resource need you have, and then there are community people you have. So what resources they have? So and how do you mobilize for the need? And sometimes it's a direct mobilization. We started a library. We got space for the free. We got all of the books for the free. Projector, Kindle, laptop, whatever was required. We were also able to run it, and for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So we were able to start all of that for a long time, right? Now maybe we don't have enough resources maybe to sustain it for the long run. So maybe definitely there are gaps. Sometimes we are able to start something,
Right.
but we are not able to sustain in a way which like which makes sense, right? So I think that's a gap sometimes we have in some of our initiatives. Definitely. Again, and then we also try to figure out like creative ways of doing that. Like we wanted to open another library which is in Chhattisgarh.
Okay.
So we have young people, and young people sometimes don't have that much money that is required. So we thought, okay, what young people have, and can it bring money to us? Young people have talent of singing, writing, poetry.
I was to touch on that. Like, you
So
have
we
many
did a
creative weeks. Yeah.
open mic night.
Yes.
So young people performed. The people who came, they paid a fee,
Yeah.
and we were able to raise a good amount, and then we were able to open a library. So resource
Fair.
mobilization theory is something not I am inventing it, it is there in the
Yeah.
history. So I am drawing a lot of my inspiration from the historical social movements. So it's a way of, again, yeah, I'm sharing my cheat code.
So
Um,
for all the
yeah.
people actually who are listening to it,
Yeah, so definitely it's a challenge. It's a challenge. One thing I would like to touch upon when we are talking about, again, we also have a lot of experiences when it comes to accessing the kind of resources we need for the work. I think, is it available? Do we have all the resources we need right now? No, we don't have. But we are trying our best. But still, we need the resources. And one of the experiences is sometimes you talked about fitting in the box. And sometimes when we go to these institutions,
That's true.
they either try to box us in a certain way,
Exactly.
or they say, okay, but you also work on that.
Yeah.
So maybe you can talk to someone else. So definitely it's a hard point.
Yeah.
And out of that, again, that experience, what we have done, it's not again our experience as a youth-led organization. If we go and talk to another youth organization, it's also their problem. So out of that
That's
experience,
true.
in the last 4 months, we have done a national consultation of 40 plus youth groups where we have, okay, what are your barriers to accessing funding, especially from institutional means. So now we have the consultation, the surveys are done, the data is compiled. Now we are like bringing, so then we'll bring it out. Okay, these are the barriers youth organization face when it's come to institutional funding.
Yes.
And I personally feel like there are systems that need to be changed. Like, how do we create more youth-friendly funding practices? That's
true.
our main idea. And a report for us, consultation for us is data. And now we will be using that data to advocate for that. So again, what we did with the bus campaign.
Yes.
So their target was definitely public bus system. Here the targets are philanthropy.
Again, I see you as a person who can sense the public pain really well. Again, this campaign sounds like a promising endeavor for all the youth-like organizations who are like catapulting to the next level and are in search for funding or support in means or money or whatever they can gather. And as we're tilting towards the concluding bit, I would ask you, like, it has been 5 years long journey and it's like halfway you are through to a decade and you started in 2020. So what has been the biggest win? Of course, we have traced so many, but what has been the personal biggest win for the organization? And maybe the next, if I do a podcast, maybe 5 years hence, or say 4 years now, in 2030, then what do you think you would be speaking as your biggest win? So if you can just talk about that.
So one thing I initially, when I started, I wanted we should create a space where like we take collective action, because like when someone takes individual actions, the limitation and the scope of that is limited. And I personally would not be able to lead so many campaigns, or maybe even achieve what Bus campaign has achieved, or maybe create a library. We were able to do because we were so many of us, right? So Youth for Climate India started from a college group in Delhi, and we in the 5 years have made 15,000 like members in 100 plus cities, right? Definitely not everyone is that active, but a lot of people are organizers who actively organize campaign on ground in these cities, right? So now going forward, when I talk about like so I wanted to do this and I am able to achieve that. I think if we'll come back on the podcast after 5 years, I won't be here because the age of YFCI is 35, so I will retire by that time. And I will be running an organizing school. I feel there are a lot of schools in India which teach different skill set. There are schools which teach about law, politics, a lot of media. But I feel there are no organizing schools. So after I retire from YFCI, when I turn 35, so I would like to run an organizing school. So maybe next line of leadership, you will be interviewing them. And that will be win for me, I would say.
What a way to put it. And any closing remarks from you, Shreya?
I think movements, campaigns, I think for us, they are still new, like for the youth especially, which are youth-led. So I think in the coming years, I would definitely see like more movements coming up, because there are multiplicity of issues when it comes to climate justice, which also includes social justice. So yeah, like as we win, like with this bus campaign, yeah, we'll be mobilizing. Like I see that, like I'm hopeful about that, because we need to. We don't have any other option than to collectivize.
That's true.
We are facing issues. We need to see through our like biases, opinions, and actually see like what's happening around us, the people around, what challenges they face, my neighbor, be it the gig workers or the people in my neighborhood, right, my friends, and largely we as a society. That understanding, we need to actually be more responsible in towards the collective responsibility we have to act. Because instead of being divided like ideologically, I think we should come together for the issues that we all face. Yeah. So I think, this is something that I hope that this will happen. This collectivization of young people for the issues that matter for every one of us. Yeah.
Lovely. I think that both the ends, whether it's like social justice, climate action, they happily join together. And if I would say, like, if I were the BFG from Roald Dahl, I would definitely blow up a dream into reality. And looking forward to interviewing the next generation of the baton bearers of Youth for Climate India. And I wish Godspeed to the organization. And if I were to like summarize this conversation, I would say it has been a journey which started by sensing the pulse of what youth wants, and from making the personal to something that is political, and even beyond political, I would say something that is needed for the planet Earth. All right, so thank you so much to both of you for coming onto this platform and sharing your voice. I hope that this voice reaches 3.5%, 30%, 300%, starting from this one milestone, and it's say that journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. And we are happy that maybe at Swechha, if we would have contributed in that one step, that would lead us to maybe interviewing the next set of leaders at Youth for Climate India. And to the listeners, I'm thankful for your time. And stay in loop, because we'll be back at Swechha for the next set of change makers who are impacting the planet much grander than the capacity. And thank you so much, and namaste.